Okay. Good evening again, class. So we're here for our final class and final presentations. So tell me a little bit about yourselves and your project, and then you can display your project. Take it away.
All right. Hello, my name is Dalen Turner. I am a sophomore TV and film major, theater arts minor from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Hello, my name is Day Brummett. I am a graduating senior television film major, African American Studies minor from Orlando, Florida. And we will be presenting to you an ode to bisons. Essentially, this project will cover topics of expectations for Howard students. My apologies. This project will cover what Howard students expected to experience at Howard, what they actually experience at Howard, how they see their future moving forward, and just a words of encouragement to incoming bisons. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Hi, my name is Midori Rainford. I am a TV and film major, photography minor from Philadelphia, PA.
Hi, my name is Kira Newman. I'm a graduating senior biology major, chemistry minor from Grand Rapids, Michigan by way of California.
My name is Naya Wright. I am a senior psychology major, Afro Studies and Community Development double minor from Pine Hill, New Jersey.
Hello, my name is Haley Collins. I am a graduating senior political science major, Africana Studies minor from New Haven, Connecticut.
My freshman year, right before I committed to Howard, I was going through it. I was burnt out from senioritis from high school. I had no clue where I wanted to go to school because I applied to all Jersey schools, and the only school I wanted to go to waitlisted me. And so I showed up at ASD, and literally just stepping on campus, I was like, I want to be here, but I had no clue what I was getting into.
Howard was like my first choice, my only choice. And I just think that was because I had grew up in so many areas that I was the minority in. Like I was just like one of one in my schools. So I think that really was like the big catalyst. Like I wanted to experience being around, like you'd only get that one chance, to be around other Black people, that number of Black people, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity.
I'd always heard about the Howard culture and how it was next level, that you're going to find your family living in Quad was going to be very special. So it's definitely something I was looking forward to.
Howard has literally shaped me and made me a person, and I think that's so awesome to say coming out of this a couple years later, because that first semester, that's the last thing I would have expected. I'm not gonna lie, I was a hot mess. I was here for the culture. I was enjoying it, but on top of the party and the cultural aspect, I've had professors that have challenged me at every corner. They've noticed a spark, something, and they all honed in on it and said, yeah, so you're not going to shortchange us or yourself. You're going to run these research labs. You're going to make the proposal. Yes, your PhD is pending. Yes, you're just a freshman, but yes, your PhD is pending.
Howard gave me like the best of both worlds. I think I got a lot of what I was expecting and more. Like you think you're coming into like a different world, and it they really named that show properly because it really is a whole different world. You're going into the HBCU. Like I just learned so much. There's so much like hidden agenda. There's so much just like conversational wise, and you just kind of gotta like roll with the punches.
Just within that first semester, and so much has changed over the last couple years in general, but that first semester was really the first one that challenged me, but let me be comfortable in that challenge at the same time. And I feel like the confidence from there has grown, and I just became so sure of myself. And I would just look at myself and be like, you know what? Maybe I actually can do this college thing. Maybe there is more to it than just a degree. Maybe I'm kind of smart after all, and I can actually do things in the world.
I am a very diligent student. I took, so many credits each semester, was in so many e-boards. I was working 20 plus hours every week, volunteering. And so my first 3 years were very driven and student focused. And so my senior year, I was looking forward to being able to really focus on being a college student.
I had so much plans. I was like, even that spring, like the my second part of my junior semester, I was gonna do Spring Fest. Like I was involved on campus. Like I was really involved. And I imagined myself continuing, you know what I'm saying? Okay, like, we're gonna come back. I'm gonna have my last homecoming, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna be on a yard, I'm gonna be very, I'm gonna love it up because it's my last year, and I especially because I met so many people. Like I feel like the last half of my college experience was literally just me meeting people. Like, where have you been? So like I wanted to mix and mingle. Like I thought I was gonna be out on U Street, dance, party, school, education. Like
Honestly, I saw senior year being way easier than it turned out to be. Something in my mind convinced me that because the first few years had been so challenging and because I gained so much confidence, I was like, okay, senior year is going to be a breeze. Like, I've already done everything there is to do. That's the end of the 4 years. What else could they expect of me? And it's been the complete opposite, but honestly, in the best way.
but I feel like now it's starting to get, because time has passed. Like this time last year, like it was literally just like four walls, me four walls. But now it's starting to, like, everything's starting to open up again. We got the vaccines popping off. Like we can kind of get back to normalcy, you know what I'm saying? But like it was really just me. I was really just writing. I just went straight into the books because what else was there for me to do?
I think as far as coping with everything that's been going on, whether it's, civil unrest or the fact that we're in a pandemic, it's difficult.
I got to senior year, and instead of like laying off the gas and professors being like, okay, you're about to graduate, like you have your job, there's no more development, it's almost like all of my professors took it even more seriously. And I appreciate it because I've been giving way more responsibility. I've been put onto so many opportunities that I didn't even expect to exist.
I've been, trying to take more time for myself, self care, whether that's reading, going to a bookstore, picking up like a coffee or tea, doing a face mask. I think is really important just to kind of ground yourself, just because there's so much that's going on in the world. And to be at a school where they aren't worried about that kind of stuff, you really have to be focused on yourself and how to prioritize, I'm more important than this 10-point assignment.
It's also making school harder. I think the burnout is coming a little bit quicker too. Because at least when we're on campus, there's kind of that outlet, and classes are intense, but the social life of Howard is just as intense and coming together in community. So it gives you a place to blow off steam. We can't do that right now. And it's so difficult to stay motivated sometimes, where it's just like, okay, so I'm in school just doing school, and my only focus is school. And so now I'm overwhelmed with school and I'm overwhelmed with the pandemic. There's nowhere for it to go because there's also no people here.
I am very excited to graduate, even though it doesn't really feel like I'm done yet, just because I'm done from home. I always imagined being done and going to celebrate with my friends, our last day of classes, leading up to graduation.
Up until literally a week and a half ago, I didn't want to acknowledge I was graduating because it felt pointless. Like it just felt like this was not what I've worked for at all. And like that's also very shallow and vain because like at the end of the day, I'm still getting my degree. But it was the show of it all. Then I wasn't getting it.
So there's two sides to it, of course, right? Like I'm relieved because this chapter is done and this is my childhood dream. Like I was 5 years old planning which colleges I wanted to go to and what I wanted to be when I grew up. So now I'm hitting the end of my undergrad career and it's finally hitting me like this is real.
I feel really fortunate to be graduating because, this semester I was not a good student, but that I only could know that because I had been a good student in the past. So I found some pride in that and I got, very pleased with myself and thinking about the person I had been to get me here. So
having, a Howard alumni on your resume is very important. And I definitely think it's going to open a lot of doors for me. So when it comes to that regard, I am confident in myself and in my abilities and in my university that is now on my resume as alumni. But at the same time, I think I am a little nervous just because you don't know what is coming next.
Like graduation, like I'm like I don't say I'm scared. And I think like when I tell people that, they're like, oh, you're 21, that's why you're not scared of anything. But like I'm really not. I think I'm more excited than anything. I think the pandemic has challenged me in a lot of ways that I don't know if I would have been that challenged, you know what I'm saying, education wise. Like I really had to sit down with myself and put myself 110 forward. So in a lot of ways I feel even more prepared.
I do have so many insecurities because like I said, like this whole year was hard. So the application process for law school, I started off in the summer and I was like, oh, I'm going to have these in by the fall. And then I just didn't. I experienced a lot of anxiety, a lot of imposter syndrome, a really big depressive episode, and like just also dealing with normal 20-year-old things, boys and friends, and trying to be social in a pandemic.
It's a little scary because we're real life grown-ups now. And the one thing I'm also learning from being at Howard and the more I'm growing up is even the most well-versed, informed, educated adult most likely has no clue what they're doing, and we're all just winging it and trying to do our best and be good people to each other. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, but it's also this sense of like, okay, if this is what growing up is, like I can handle that. It's okay. But whoa, that's real life. There's really no rules. Like we're just doing things and hoping for the best.
I think that one point that's really important is because we're in a pandemic, there aren't as many jobs available. And then there's tens of thousands of students who are graduating who are looking for these jobs, as well as people who lost their jobs because of this pandemic. So there are a lot of things that people don't talk about where students are graduating and they're not always finding the job that they were originally looking for, or not in this their place where they're happy. And I am concerned about that just because you don't know if you're going to get that position. And then when it comes to salaries, people want to lowball recent graduates, lowball people of color, lowball women because of who we are. And I think that's very unfair.
I know that I have a little bit more time to figure out what I'm doing next than other people, but that comes with the reality that I didn't figure it out yet. And I'm still pending my possible options right now. And I graduate in 15 days. So it's like,
Howard students make Howard. The name of Howard is built on the backs of the intellectual labor that we do and our personalities and our spirits.
To all the future and prospective Bisons, I would say that Howard is really special. There's something very important about being in an educational community of people who look like you. I can honestly say that I was very driven at Howard, and it was because of the people that I surrounded myself with.
Just stay away from getting caught up. Like, don't feel like you got to keep up with the Joneses in order to get things done. I think things happen in their own time. And if that means that your first freshman year, you know, you try out for things or you meet people and those things don't work out, there's always redemption. Like in life, there's always redemption, and you can always try again and try again with a different group, or try again with somewhere else, or try again on your own. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't get used to the change, because it's always going to be changing. And especially in college, everything moves so freaking fast. Like if you don't get used to it early on, then you're just going to get swept away.
This is such a full circle moment, and I'm almost gonna cry, so I'm gonna hold it together, because I remember being a little baby bison coming in the upperclassmen having words of wisdom, and when I was coming in I didn't get it, and now I get it. So I have to pass the torch, right? Don't give in to imposter syndrome. Just don't do it. Cause it's gonna be in your head, in the back, badgering you at every turn. Because Howard students are trailblazers. We're pioneers. We're excellent for a reason. We set the standard of academic excellence. Shout out HU. That's scary territory. Especially being Black in America, especially being who you are and the space that you occupy in this world. Be loud about it anyway. You didn't get here on accident. You didn't get to Howard by some mistake, twisted miracle. It wasn't fate. Like, you didn't trick anybody. You're supposed to be here. You're intelligent. You have things to offer. You're more than capable. You got yourself here, and you're going to keep going. And so when the opportunities start pouring in, because it's not if, it's when. If you are a Howard student, it's not if, it's when. And they're going to be big name internships, companies, corporations. People want you. They want to work with you. They want to hear your voice, and they want to do it on purpose. Not fooling anybody. We love to get into finesse culture, just like messing with each other at Howard, and you'll hear that word so often, and there comes a point where you really have to step out of it and say, I didn't finesse any of this. I was here the whole time, and I did that. Even if it doesn't feel like it. Even if it feels like every other class you only read every other article. Guess what? You read every other article, and that still did something, and it still informed something. Get out of your own head. Because once you get this degree and once you keep going, the only person that can and will stop you is you. Everybody else wants to hear from you. So stop faking yourself out and thinking you don't belong in these rooms, because baby, you are the room at this point. And that's on 1867.
Look at you two. So how do you feel about it?
Good.
Good. Good.
I love how that came out.
Good. Good. So what do you plan to do with it now?
So we have a Facebook page, and it's just entitled Ode to Bisons. And so we were going to upload it along with just like recent graduates' pictures and just Howard University images, things that like we think are a good representation to Howard, or that we think represents an experience at Howard, and we're just gonna leave it as like a tribute, like a testimonial, a memorial of sorts. Hello. Can I not hear you guys?
I can hear you.
Uh,
I don't get the professor though.
You all hear me?
Now.
Goodness gracious. Makes no sense. Anyways, it's not one thing, it's another. It's technology. That is great. I'm excited about the Facebook page. I think that is a great way for it to live on and carry on, and people get excited and they respond, and all that information, and they feel like a connection to what is being said and what's being shared. They can identify with that. Yeah. So I think what happened to the letter? What happened to the love letter you guys were going to do?
I thought that the things that the last when the three girls who spoke on like basically insight or invite advice to future bison, I thought that was a little like just way more genuine than being like yeah,
like staged.
Yeah, and like the way like it was coming together, like initially editing it, like I was just going to do it as each person's like individual interview, like like that, but I was like, I feel like that's less encompassing of how we feel, and I felt like the cross-cutting really just kind of showed like the parallels between how each person was feeling, and there's like some juxtaposition in there where some people were like, I'm fine, I'm confident in my future, and having like the side-by-side comparison of another saying, actually I'm not. I just thought like it was like it was really reflective of the climate and the headspace that we were in. So I thought it was more powerful that way. And there were more moments in these interviews, but I didn't want it to be like a big, like I didn't want it to be disrespectful to Howard in any way. I wanted them to have like, I wanted it to show authentically how they felt, while at the same time like not still painting Howard in a good light, but being real, and like it was just seeing it come together like that. It's just like, wow, like I know that this was a therapeutic experience for them, and I know that other seniors for decades to come will see that and still relate to it.
I like that. What about any tweaks before putting it on Facebook? Like, had you guys thought about
Yeah,
putting it?
oh,
Mm-hmm,
so sorry. Definitely adding an intro, as
mm-hmm,
far as like an ode to Howard, like title cards, things like that. And
mm-hmm.
cards is that as well, giving us credit and giving credit
Yes,
to the lovely ladies who took the time to, pardon me, who took the time to be a part of this. That was just wasn't in the time frame for getting this.
yes, yeah. And I even think like, finding some royalty free music
Yeah,
that when it first, intros in and people are saying their names, even that can underscore that and then maybe fade out, and then maybe somehow pick back up again, whether it's the same music or different music towards the end when they're giving the advice, and then it can rev up as you do your credits.
yeah, definitely that as well. Also, I found some archived stock footage of just like Howard, and I did want to include that just to set the scene a little more. So how like the
Yeah.
format, just to give you like a visual, because you'll see it after the fact, but a title card with music, the Howard intros, and then before we get into like hop straight into the piece, I wanted to put that stock footage of like old Howard, um,
Mm-hmm.
then have new Howard basically tell their story.
Yeah.
I also played with the concept of putting like the questions in between each thing, but then just the way like it looked, it seemed less conversational. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's probably what's so powerful about this piece is it seems like less formal in structure and just more like letting their stories guide like from point A to point B.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I like the way you edited with this, kind of, I want to say hopping around, but I do like the idea of what you did with us not just staying glued to one person the whole time. And it just makes sense to, keeping the topics and categories together.
Yeah.
But I do think, like you mentioned, those extra little bells and whistles to add to the polishing of it for your intro and outro. And again, just if you want to use music, you can, just to have that, again, go along with your intro outro. So I think that's really, really cool. Yeah. So all in all, what did the two of you all learn about yourselves with this project, right? And having to pivot your project, having to do this project pretty much 100% remotely, even with your team meetings, even with the class, etc.
I will say that this taught me flexibility and to essentially adapt. I'm very much, at least prior to the pandemic, I can't make any declarations about myself anymore because I'm ever changing and evolving.
That's right.
The times. But prior to the pandemic, I was incredibly structured, like didn't really not I didn't it's not that I didn't have the capacity to adapt or think on my toes. It was something that I didn't like doing and I found very, very unpleasant. But in the past year, it's become something that I expect. And like my classmate said, get used to change. Um, that like like that hit home for me so like on a completely different level. Like I expect to have to change. I expect to to adapt because like you literally never know what's going to happen next and I'd rather be prepared to act than like just stop dead in my tracks and be fearful of what's to come. So and as far as like what I've taken away from like this project, um, some of my classmates mentioned, imposter syndrome and like not thinking that you deserve what you have or somebody else is more deserving. Just seeing that, having the thoughts and the feelings that I've been having over the past year or so, seeing them be validated by just other people being having like similar experiences or thinking not even the same way, just seeing that other people are just as human as I am. It's made me like really just accept myself more and accept like my feelings and my thoughts as my own. And yeah, it was, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Dalen, what about you?
So what I've learned is basically that I'm like a lot stronger than I thought I was, and that I don't give myself enough credit because before like the pandemic and everything, I was a good student, but I always found like that one thing to keep myself in a negative space. Like I could just be doing great in 5 classes, but there's that one class where I just don't feel like I'm giving my all. And then I just focus on that and forget about all of the victories that I've achieved. But now, with just having to focus on myself in school, I feel like I've changed into a completely different person because I've never really been I've really never been a person to drop the ball on like any assignments. And I feel like it could have been so easy to do that these past couple of semesters, but I stuck to what I know. I get everything done on time, of quality, and I deserve to talk myself up about that. And it just was, I didn't do it before, but I do it all the time now because I do not have time to doubt myself in these type of conditions. There's no one close to me to constantly like hype me up or validate me. I only have myself, and so I have to do it even if nobody else can. And I'm just grateful for that. And with this project, I see that a lot of other people are going through, the same things. I may not be a senior, but I've I've had to endure this pandemic just like they have. I have to worry about what's next. At least they don't have to, have to worry about what's going to happen on campus. But of course, I have to think about these next few years and how the classroom life is going to be, how campus life is going to be, if I'm going to have to, you know, find somewhere to live, which I probably will. But all in all, I'm not even going to let that get to me because I know that things are going to work out. I know that I'm going to have a plan because I never let myself down. So that's what I've learned.
Very, very good. I have just a few more questions for both of you all.
Mhm.
If there was one thing you could change in the course of this semester, meaning what you did or did not do, either with the project or with class or anything, what would that be and why?
Um, Dalen, I don't know if you want to go first.
I can go first. Um, I think if I could change anything, it would probably be to like, I guess, communicate more. And I don't think I'm like a bad communicator, but I do think that there's always like room to grow. And I feel like whenever there's a new semester that starts, I'm always like kind of shy and laid back. Um, and I do feel like I've opened up more, throughout the semester. But sometimes I get into like this, like a bit of a stasis where I am present and I'm listening, but I can also like fall back. And although I may have something to say, I can sometimes, like I'll even unmute the mic, but then if somebody else starts talking and it goes to a different subject, I'll just hold it back. And sometimes I wish I just didn't do that as much. So yeah, I would definitely change that.
For me, I agree with everything you just said, Dalen, but I would have prioritized my health more. I think there were many times where I was just focused and consumed with schoolwork, my internship, and like my actual job that there were times where I just wasn't taking care of myself, and it like definitely added up and contributed to my state of mental health, emotional health, and literally my physical health. And as important as all of those things are, school, work, whatever, your career, um, nothing's really more important than like your own health. And I think I would have liked to have found a better balance between all of it. But again, I'm not like upset with myself because we're in a pandemic, so everyone's figuring it out. But yeah, I definitely would have taken more time to just do something for myself.
Yes, thank you both for sharing. I definitely agree with both statements. And with Day in particular, I just had another meeting with a student at 4 o'clock today, and we talked about some similar things, and the importance of self-care. So I definitely understand what you're saying. This is like a two-part question. I want to know in particular with this course, what did you feel you learned the most? And maybe learned the most isn't the best way to put it, because there may be more than one thing, but maybe so what either assignment or what part in the course seemed to be the most impactful. And then based on what you've done with the course, how do you plan to use that moving forward?
So I'll take the lead on this one. Honestly, the structure of the course, as in how you um, organize the like topics per week and the assignments that we had to do, were very, I would say, effective in the planning process. It really did seem like, I know it's the producer's workshop, but it literally seemed like we were going, I guess this doesn't make any sense. Like we were producing a project. So I say that to say, like, I've kept everything like in a file, as far as like the structure and the different steps that we went through. And I am actually a content producer. Like I intend to continue to do that, and go into creative executive roles in the entertainment industry, and I'll actually be like anything else I produce, it'll probably be in the same fashion. So before, I think for a lot of Howard students or a lot of Howard film students, when we were creating projects, we were just winging it. Like we knew the basics of pre-production, post-production, production, but like there wasn't really a structure or an organized way that we were doing things. So to literally have a course that takes you from A to Z, was just very helpful.
Excellent, thank you. Dalen?
Yeah, I agree with everything she said. I think with these assignments, one of the most like prominent things I could take away from it is like the organizational skills that I got from it, because being honest, I'm not the most organized person. I just know where, like, my mind works in a way in where I know where things are, but I know if somebody else had to, you know, have get a hold of the things that I have, they probably wouldn't know where to look. But I feel like I've definitely learned a lot about organization. And also, I'm kind of gonna make a call back to our other class with production lab. In addition to this one, I have learned that, like, through every assignment, of just how creative I can be in so many different fields. And I know that I feel like in the back of my mind, I knew I could do some of the things that I've had to do, like that I've been pushed to do because they're literally for a grade. Because, say, with the, costume design assignment, I know I love fashion. I know I love fashion illustrations. Before I even took that class, I had been like trying to learn how to do like the fashion figures, but I just couldn't really get a hang of it. But as soon as I saw that particular project, I knew I wanted to challenge myself. And instead of like finding the pictures from the internet, which is fine, I wanted to make my own drawings, my own original drawings, because I know I'm going to keep that up for the future. There have been so many different things from this class and that class and classes from the past semester that have showed me just how much of an interest I show like in the arts. Like I have such an appreciation for it now, and I have so much more confidence now. Just last semester I had to literally make my own set design, like a physical set. Had I not taken that class, I would never, ever even attempt to do something like that. But not only did I get it done, but I did it well. So with everything coming out of these classes, I just feel like a more complete person. And I'm not afraid to go for something and just write it off before even trying.
Thank you for sharing. Did you have stagecraft last semester? Basic stagecraft, Dalen?
I actually had intro to design.
Okay, yes, and you had to do a model.
Yes,
Uh-huh,
there was like
uh-huh.
we were in groups the whole semester, kind of like
Mm-hmm,
it was 4 people.
mm-hmm,
One person had lights, one person had costumes, one person has the set, which was me, and one person
mm-hmm.
was over the sound.
Sound. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we had to implement that class because of the fact that we weren't able to do tech production, which would have allowed you to work on an actual show.
Yeah.
And that whole semester, you would have been kind of either on 1 to 2 teams, depending on the season and how it was laid out. So, yeah. Well, good. I can definitely wrap it up there. It has been a pleasure working with the both of you all this semester. It has been a pleasure learning your styles and learning, like Dayla mentioned, the creative beings that exist already within you both. That has just been wonderful. And even with the written components of the assignments, like the project outline or draft, and then going to the project outline and seeing how even from the very beginning each written assignment has caused you all to evolve and shed and pivot and turn the corner here. And so at the end of the day, again, I think I mentioned this in my other class that I have with Dalen in Intro to Production / Lab, where I say, listen, I don't teach to be your favorite teacher or to be your favorite topic, but I do teach to be the most impactful that I can be. You may not like me when you finish. You may feel like, what in the world just happened here? But at the end of it, I hope that you come to a place of clarity, being more confident about yourself and your work, about being more creative. As an arts administrator, that's one thing we push our students to do, is to find their creative, and that's whether it's in corporate, that's whether it's in film, that's whether it's in theater, that's whether it's in dance, that's whether it's in the hospitality industry, whatever it is, right? And so hopefully those things will continue to carry with you. And at the end of it all, the most important thing I want to push forward is the importance of maintaining your positive brand and positioning. And we didn't get to talk about it as deeply as we would have with marketing for the producers workshop class. But ideally, it is so important, right, that we talk about the brand of the project and the brand of, but the brand of what you produce is stemmed from or connected to, tied to, and is a constant thread from your personal brand. So you're establishing that as a team. Now, whether you all continue working together and do some great things is up to you all. But as a team with this project, you're continuing on your brand. So every time they see D&D Productions, they know what is coming, right? Every time they see Dave's name, every time they see Dalen's name, they go, wow, I remember, I know. I like this. I like how they work. I like how they function. And that at the end of the day is what you want people to remember is, as people say, you are only as good as your last impression. And then, you have the comment of first impression means everything, right? And so you can't have a final impression being positive if the first one wasn't good. And then God forbid your first one was good and the very last one was a mess, then that's your last one, because they're not going to risk, trying to work with you or do anything else. So again, hopefully this class, you guys will continue to take those measures into your everyday lives and look back at the different things that you all were able to do. And I look forward to seeing the final version of the project. I just ask if you give a small little credit to the course. So when I show it and people know that it came from the class, they know, what it's referencing and things of that nature. And I'm able to, show it to next semester's class to say, hey, this is what, 2 students did. So I know you can do it as well, right?
Okay, that sounds good. The adding the credit and stuff for the course. I was going to ask though, is there anything that you took from the project, like as a professor? Obviously, I know that students will be able to connect. I just wanted to know, like, if it had any impact on you as a faculty member as opposed to.
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, we as faculty, well, let me not, I have another colleague, a former colleague, she's at Yale now, and she always would say, speaking from the I, because oftentimes we say we, and I can't speak for anyone else, but I will say that I often learn from my students. And this is a prime project that gives that example of just getting a deeper understanding of where you guys are. Because yes, we as faculty, we have been through school, but we were not going through school in the middle of a pandemic. And so there are, always the lessons learned. There's always the ability to tap into to further understand someone else's thought process, their struggle, their steps, and just, their psyche, how they're thinking. And then it helps to make the connections as to why students may be operating the way that they're operating. It also gives additional information to what may be on the mind. We think we know, and now we do have a little bit more confirmation because everyone, when you're graduating, is trying to figure out, oh my God, what am I doing next? Even when you have that job lined up, because you're like, did I take the right offer? Should I take in the other one? Oh, I'm going to a new city. What am I doing? Right. And so it just reminds us that that hasn't gone away, and that it may have that the pandemic may have upped the ante in the questioning of, what's next. And so, yes, I didn't learn from you all's feedback, because Dalen made a good point. Dalen said, I know that, others are leaving and moving on, but we're still here and we're still trying to figure out what next. even in the middle of it, right? And so lastly, what it reminds me of is that it reminds me to continue to remind students that, yes, we're faculty and your students, but at the end of the day, we're all adults. And so there's a lot we do have in common. And especially for those that may be non-traditional students who are still, dealing with the struggles of as well. So I think the project is going to do very well when other people see it. I think people are going to do their own spin on it. And what I mean by that is don't be surprised when other people begin to do their kind of own ode or so, or maybe you make that the challenge and get ahead of it, right? So that it's, still your intellectual property and creative ideas. But all that to say, as people used to say, going around Robin Hood Barnyard, to come back to say, yes, I have learned from the project, and I constantly learn from you all as students.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for everything you've done for us during this semester and just your words of affirmation just now. Everything you've said, like, for me, it's weighing really heavy on me, and that's clearly because this is the end, and I'm actually kind of sad.
Oh, you will do wonderful. There's just nothing but great things in store ahead for you and Dalen, even though he's a continuing student. And, what we have to remember is that the coronavirus, the pandemic, did cause a major shift, and it's still causing a major shift, but it is not the only thing we should be paying attention to. And so as you all move forward in these next coming months and people are going to get a little wild and we see states do a small shutdown, or they do go back into further restrictions as case numbers could possibly rise, just remember that the pandemic, even though it's global and it's large and it's whatever, at the end of the day, it is still a percentage of a greater pie. There are other things we have to look at and look out for. And so at the end of the day, it goes back to our conversation that we didn't dive deep into, but we spoke briefly about, and Day shared about it in her thing of wishing she would have changed or could go back and change. It's the self-care. It is the self-care. It is sometimes as simple as saying, you know what, I'm going to put this phone on the charger for an hour. I'm going to even go as far as taking the smartwatch off my wrist so I do not get any notifications on anything. I'll turn my ringer on just in case. And if the phone rings and it's a special ringer, I know it's, mom, and I want her to know I'm okay or something like that. That's okay. But anybody else, they can wait. They can wait an hour and it's okay. My emails can wait an hour. My text messages can wait an hour. I can wait an hour to scroll and see what's happening on the gram and the face of the book. And as we always jokingly say, and and Twitter and any other tweet that's going out, and YouTube and the news. And I deserve this hour of peace, this hour of silence. I deserve this hour to try to take a nap. I deserve this hour to go to the pool. I deserve this hour to take a hot bath. I deserve this hour to just sit on the front porch and swing. I deserve this hour to walk to the store and, pick up some ice cream and just enjoy the cool breeze. Whatever it is, you deserve that self-care. And your self-care regimen may be different than mine, but it's yours. And it may change. What you need this day may be different next week. But we have to find that time and be okay with it and not apologize for it. We have to go, I'm so sorry I missed your call, as opposed to just, hi, I missed your call. How can I be of service? Why do we apologize for just life? And those are the things we have to remember, is that we are in life and things happen. You can let me know something is going on, but we don't have to apologize for it. Right? It's just a part of life. And if we do better at being more of a community to one another and more gracious and more sympathetic and empathetic to what's happening, we would be just a better community. And so it starts with us, and it starts with demanding and commanding it. So yes, Dalen, walk in that confidence, because if not, they will walk over you. They will act like they don't see you, and your voice should be heard, period. Right. And so, Day, you continue on. And I just want to congratulate you, Day, because this is a great milestone. It is a great milestone, and you ought to be proud of it. And yes, you get to bask in it just for a little while, right? Don't take too long to do the next great thing, right? And only you can make that rubric for you to determine what's great. You are always in competition with yourself. Yeah, you have goals and you want to get places, and you have folk that may inspire you, and that's great. But at the end of the day, you are only in competition with yourself. So if tomorrow your self is better than yesterday, you're on the right path, and that's all that matters. So I thank you both. I thank you both. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so, so much.
Yes.
You hang up first.
Ah. Thank you both. This has been wonderful.